Hi again, everyone. This is Dr. Chad Rolland from Rolland Chiropractic, RollandHealth.com. I'm talking to you today about some more of nature's doctors. We talked about the acronym last time: New Start, Nutrition, Exercise, Water, Sunshine, Temperance, Fresh Air, Rest, and Trust in God. And today, if we talk a little bit about temperance, it's an old-fashioned word that we don't hear a lot anymore, but we can think of it as the word moderation. In other words, moderation in even things that are good for you, having not too much exercise, not too much sleep, not too much food, and avoiding things that are harmful altogether. That's what the original word temperance meant, such as cigarette smoking. I have a little magazine here that talks about stop smoking. This time in 2020, when the pandemic is going on, there's a lot of issues as far as how tobacco weakens the lungs and causes potential problems for individuals with that illness. And we just want to think about, not only does it cause lung problems, it's reported to contribute, tobacco is, to 1/3 of cancers, but it also creates a lot of aches and pains. And people don't realize that the nicotine and other chemicals that are in tobacco products contribute to aches and pains in the muscles and the joints. So this is a good time to think about quitting the use of all types of tobacco if you do, and maintaining good temperance in other areas. The next thing I want to talk about is the E for exercise. Aerobic exercise, of course, is good for the heart. Strength training and lifting weights is good to build muscles, as is some type of balance coordination training, such as people use different types of dancing or different types of Tai Chi or exercises that train your balance. Another thing about exercise is that it does help improve oxygenation to your cells, and that exercises your lungs, improves your immune function, improves your heart condition. Brisk walking is excellent to reduce stress and improve sleep and aid your healing. Of course, you probably already know the guidelines are 150 minutes per week at a level that is slightly difficult to carry on a conversation and at a level that helps you to sweat. Sweating, of course, creates a detoxification effect as your body pushes some of those unwanted compounds out of your body. Talk with your personal doctor if there's any personal restrictions for you. Typically, you're going to split that exercise time up to 30 to 60 minute intervals, maybe 5 times a week, depending on your schedule and what you're trying to accomplish. Extra benefits of a type of exercise would be high interval training. What that does is it focuses on periods or cycles of strong exertion, almost to the point of brief exhaustion and stress, and then it allows a milder exercise period for recovery. And it's not long periods of time, but a few minutes of strenuous heavy exercise to get you winded, and then a few minutes of lighter exercise to help you recover. And it looks at how the benefits to training the body for that. And it turns out that our heart actually responds better, and you'll get more accomplishment and more gain by doing interval training than just doing long periods of steady exercise. Getting your heart rate up, even for activities around the house and the yard, can also be beneficial. Of course, you can find many tips for exercising online. You can also overdo exercise. What do I mean by that? Not only for injuries that we would see as a chiropractor in the office, having done too much, being deconditioned, let's say, and I went out and did a lot of yard work in the spring, or went out and just ran a marathon and I wasn't used to it, or even then my body just wasn't ready for it. But having exercise that is too intense for too long period of time, or repetitive, like doing long distance running. Now, I just mentioned marathons. There are some people that seem to be able to do it well, but keep in mind that your body is continually healing itself. And at some point, as you keep putting that wear and tear on those joints or that part of your body, it is made for movement and it is made for stress, and stress helps it respond and helps it heal and recover. However, too much over a long period of time can cause problems. For example, long-distance runners are known to have heart problems with, I don't know that all of them do, but some of them are reported to have heart problems as the heart actually grows and hypertrophies or enlarges in size and creates a problem there. Also, they have numerous problems with their joints, particularly joints of the knees and ankles. So that's just one example of how even a good thing can be taken to an extreme and done too much. Variety is also good. Like I said earlier, I want to do some strength training. I want to do some aerobics. I want to do some balance training. And some of you are saying, oh, I see Doc, you're saying, hey, be careful, you can exercise too much. Most of us exercise too little. So keep that in mind. Of course, you can find a lot of different exercise options. Just check them out and see what works for you. The next thing we're going to talk about is sunshine. Sunshine is often an overlooked natural doctor, Of course, we all enjoy going out and sitting in the sunshine and just catching some rays, or going out on a nice sunny warm day. But where do most of us spend our time? Most of us spend our time indoors, whether for work or we go home after work, relax. People sit down and watch TV, or they do other things like that, and then just don't get time to be outside in the sun that much. Now keep in mind, the sun is a full spectrum light. What does that mean? It has ultraviolet, it has visible light, of course we know, and it has infrared light. Now, infrared light is something that's very healthy for our body. And actually, the infrared light, whether it's from the sun or whether it's from an infrared sauna, can penetrate through the tissues in our body, including the skull, and into our brain or other parts of our body, and provide nourishment and provide energy for the cells. You can look some of that up. There's very interesting research being done by a doctor in Canada, some others around, that help explain how this infrared light benefits our body. We have an infrared light tool here in our office that's just LEDs, and you put it on and it helps with wound healing, it helps with energizing cells, it helps reducing scarring and wrinkles, and it helps with pain. So there's an infrared therapy tool that can be in the office or in your home. What else does light do? Well, it boosts the energy in the cell, as I mentioned, but it also boosts your mood. So having a good, healthy mood, people know if they're depressed or even anxious, that having a good time out in the sunshine, or having that infrared light if you're unable, or a full spectrum light if you're unable to get outside, can give you some good benefits. Infrared saunas, as I mentioned, can be a help. We need light, of course, to help us function optimally. Now, what about ultraviolet light? Ultraviolet light is the part of the sunshine that burns our skin and creates skin cancer. But most of the time, that is because we're getting too much of the ultraviolet light. And so we want to have just the right amount. We need it to convert vitamin D from the vitamin D2 that comes in plant source to vitamin D3. And if you listen to the news nowadays, and people who are darker skinned are having a lot of problems with this particular ailment that's going around in 2020. And that seems to be one possible explanation, is that low levels of vitamin D, because many people in the United States are deficient. We're going to talk about that later on our vitamin D video, and that creates a big problem if I'm not reboosting it. What about the sunscreen that we're putting on? Does that help? Well, there's a lot of chemicals in sunscreen, and not too many people put the effort into buying a healthy sunscreen. It also blocks that vitamin D from being converted up to 95%. So you want to be careful and be aware of that. So how much sunshine should I get? Ideally 15 minutes on all exposed parts of our body. Chest, back, arms, legs, face. And so if you can't do that until it's lightly pink, but just barely pink, if you can't get that 15 minutes in, or you can't expose that much part of your body, maybe you can do different parts of your body and rotate, because it is a dose-dependent exposure. So if you can go a little bit in the morning, sometime later, it's just important for you to consider the real big benefits of sunshine and infrared light. Now, one of the other things to consider is that UV light, or ultraviolet light, also helps to sanitize things. We talked about that in a previous video a little bit. But for example, hanging your bedding or your clothing out on the line, which is kind of an old-fashioned technique, but that helps to sanitize that clothing differently than it would be in a custom modern washer and dryer. National Public Radio this last week had some comment on it that the possible SARS-CoV-2 would be inactivated in 2 minutes of ultraviolet light. Now, I did not fact check that and see if that was true, but I've heard some stories where 10 minutes or less would be enough to sanitize things in full sunlight, so it wouldn't surprise me if that was true. And I was listening to a doctor talk, and he was explaining how in the olden days, even for him, or I've read stories about this, that the sanitariums, for example, for tuberculosis and other health problems, they would bring people out into the sunshine in a wheelchair or some type of an arrangement where they could sit and get sun exposure and have a sun bath. What are they also getting? Of course, they're also getting the fresh air. That's the next thing we're going to talk about, is A for air and fresh air. Now, open your windows at your house. Hopefully you do that on a regular basis. If it's nice weather out, or even if it's not, that you open your windows and get circulation throughout your home, get the stale air out, bring the new air in. Also let the sunshine in, pull the curtains back. Sometimes people have their curtains all pulled for privacy, and they never get fresh air or sunshine into their home except for when they open and close the door. Another thing is to go outside and get the negative ions and the other fresh air that you would find when you're walking in nature. Walking out in the woods, particularly around conifer trees, pine trees, that have the needles. they have a lot of outgassing of negative ions and the way it affects the fresh air around. Also, after a thunder and lightning storm, that you'd be able to smell that fresh ozone in the fresh air. Or go by water and by a brook and down by the ocean, you smell the difference. That again, negative ions. You can also put plants in your house. That's going to help purify your home. Again, you can think about those different types of plants and look them up online and find out different ones that are good for you. Consider using an air purifier also. Air purifiers, there's different types online, and they can help by cleansing the air, filtering the air, and also providing ozone. Now, ozone is a device that you can use to purify your air and sanitize your air either at a low level, but you should not, as a person, breathe high concentrations of ozone because it is going to be damaging to your lungs. So what you would do is run the ozone generator when you're not home, let it shut off within 30 minutes or sometimes as many as a few hours. That ozone would convert back to regular oxygen, and it's harmless and it has cleansed and freshened the air. Consider also running bathroom fans or some other type of ventilation fan in your house, because those fans again are going to pull, if you crack a window, they're going to pull that fresh air in and vent the old stale air out the vent, and then you'll have the benefit of having circulating air. I'm going to encourage you to go to a website by an individual named Wim, W-I-M, Hof, H-O-F, and look at his breathing technique. It's rather unconventional, but he's done a lot of scientific research about the benefits of deep breathing and rapid breathing in order to improve conditions of lung problems, even such as asthma, or I'm sure it would help with the current viral illness that's going around now. And you can look at his particular video and learn from that and see if it's something you want to do. You can also test yourself by holding your breath to see how long you can do it, or putting a piece of paper up against the wall and breathing against it forcefully and quickly to see how long you can hold it against the wall without it falling by gravity. Gives you some indication about the capacity of your lungs and your breathing. I'm going to show you a couple of breathing techniques, but before I do that, I'm going to show you a few books. Here's a nice book by Dr. Arnaud, different ways that you can help boost your health. Some of what we're talking about here in Nature's Doctors, and he has a few others in this 24 ways. I recommend that book for you. Here's another book, Take Charge of Your Health by Hans Diehl. It's a good book and a nice overview of a number of different Nature's Doctors and health things. Energy that we get from breathing, from exercising, from fresh air, 60 ways to energize your life, Kate Kuzma. Nice, interesting book to look at that. Here's another good book, 52 Ways to Feel Great Today. And so you can see the authors there. It's a nice book with a good overview. You don't need all of these, but there are some really good benefits in these different books. I'd also like to show you a few exercise tips, breathing tips rather, before we go and see what you think of these. First of all, we'll do the box breathing. And for that, you're simply going to breathe in 4 times, hold 4, breathe out for 4, and hold out for 4. So for example, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold out, 2, 3, 4, and then repeat. Breathe in, 4, hold, 4, out, 4, breathe, and hold out, 4, until you're done. So it's a box breathing, and you get the technique for 4, 4. Another one that's good is to breathe in for 4. So we breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and then you hold for 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now slowly breathe out for 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And repeat. Lastly, I'm going to show you one that I like called the windmill breathing. And you put your hands like this. Okay? I'll breathe in as I extend my hands over my head and down towards my waist. And then I'm going to breathe out as I bring the windmill around. Turn. Breathe in. All the way up. Breathe out. Turn, breathe in, breathe out, It makes no sense to me these days why some officials are saying to people, stay indoors, don't go outside, close the parks, keep out of the sunshine. I mean, what are we doing? Let's get some exercise. Let's get some sunshine. Let's get some fresh air. These are some of nature's wonderful doctors, and they've been around for centuries, and they'll continue to help keep us healthy. I'm Dr. Chad Rolland. Until next time, wishing you the best of health and happiness.